So Nnamdi, I've been doing some reading, looking for topics for our show. I came across a topic in The Atlantic,
Mm.
and basically their title of their article was "Is Old Music Killing New Music?"
Mm.
And there was a few details that really shocked me. I did not realize that old music makes up 70% of today's music market.
Wow.
And it says there's been a decline in interest in new music. And we've seen a lot of people, a lot of artists from yesteryear, they're publishing, being bought up by certain,
Yeah.
corporations and entities for use in commercials and movies. And, people want to own this older music
Yeah.
for it seemingly has more value.
Mm.
So why do you think that is? Do you agree? Do you sense that? Because we get a lot of times where people are like, they want the music of yesterday, they want that old school, but I think we've kind of been listening to a lot of old music before to make up 70% of the marketplace. Do you agree with that, or have you sensed that at all or felt that?
Yeah, I think we've said many a times how we consume music has changed. The days of buying a CD or vinyl or 8-track or cassette has sort of left, and it's not just a nostalgia thing. It was just the quality of the music and the experience of that kind of music. So when you do watch TV commercials, it's either they're playing an SWV or Blackstreet or James Brown or something like that. They're playing those songs that we're very familiar with the commercial, and the bigger the song, the more prestige the commercial is. And when you're seeing about owning the copyright of the song and the recordings, this is trying to invest in the stock markets. I mean, that's pretty much long-term investment because the songs get value. The Beatles, they're more valuable now than they were. Michael Jackson bought their publishing in the 80s for about I think less than 40 million. They're
Oh,
worth
that
over
was
a
a
billion.
steal.
They're worth over $1 billion now.
Mm.
And so you start to think, you know, and because at the end of the day, with a popular song, they will always make money from that because somebody's going to listen to that. But we've mentioned many a times that the music that's out now here is very much a microwave. Quick eat and move on. Cardi B may have an album, but we may just remember 1, 2 songs that are big, get all the explosion, go viral on social media, but they're not going to be songs that we will remember in 5 years' time. Compared to some of the oldest tracks, that legacy tracks, that 20 years and 30 years, they're still very popular. And
Hmm.
so, yes, you're asking, are you ask the question, is there need for an artist to come up with new music now, or why are the songs from the 80s, 70s, and 60s and 2000s still more popular than music put out in 2022?
The latter, because it
Why?
seems like that those songs are still outperforming. Like a lot of these older like legacy acts, they're still on the Billboard charts. They're still,
Yeah,
floating around. They're still selling. Eminem's earlier albums are selling. The Eagles, Michael Jackson, a lot of Jodeci, Mary J. Blige. Those are probably moving more units than a lot of the newer artists, especially physical copies, because we have counted out physical copies, but seemingly anyway. But vinyl is actually making a comeback. People are starting to buy vinyl more.
mm,
CDs are still, they're still doing respectable numbers, not what they used to be, but
mm,
people are, for whatever reason, I think in my opinion, I think that we're in a time where that music represents just happier times, simpler times,
yeah,
and
yeah,
the music today, music always reflects the times, right? So I think that right now we're in uncertain times. I think that the music is, not as encouraging and hopeful as it used to be. I'm not to say everything was like positive and everything like that,
yeah.
but I
NWO.
think that there, the music was more fun back then. You know, when you
Yeah,
listen to TLC, Creep, and Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and all of, Hat to the Back, that's fun. When you listen to, This Is How We Do It, Montel Jordan, that's a fun record. You don't hear songs like that anymore, And then those incredible melodies from those old school records, like
mm,
I'm trying to think of something right now.
they,
Respect from Aretha Franklin,
yeah,
or
yeah,
Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, and all of those old school records that you just hear all the time. The Beatles records. Those they have a lot of the Temptations. A lot of those songs have those strong melodies. Once you hear it one time, you can't get it out your head. And I don't think
yeah,
that they write melodies like that these days. It's very two note type, simple record. Simple hooks, no bridges, 2 minute songs, in today's
yeah,
terms.
yeah.
So it's,
And very
it's
much
very,
producer driven too, beat maker hit,
yeah.
and the beat maker driven. Yeah, as I said, people keep saying, "Oh, that they don't make the music as they used to do back in the day," and but it is true. Now, we're not saying that the '90s had all the best, because I love the
No.
'80s and I love the
Hmm.
'70s as well, and the '60s. I remember growing up listening to a lot of the '60s Motown stuff and the
Hmm.
Beatles, and I remember in the '70s the Jacksons and the Commodores, and listening to that, and then the '80s, loved the '80s as well. And then and then in my college days, it was the '90s, and it just said you could hear the lyrics. The groups were mostly distinctive. Brownstone were different from Jade, who were different from
Yes.
SWV, who were different from Moke and Steph. So they were very distinctive. So they weren't sounding the same or acting the same, and their music did not all sound the same. So there was a very distinct type of sound, even in the '80s and stuff. And then we've come into today, and if Jasmine Sullivan, Scissor, her, um, um, Summer Walker,
Hmm.
in is it Indie Irie, not Indie Irie, Annie Lennox,
R.N. Lennox, yeah.
Annie Lennox, if they were all on the same track, I wouldn't know who sang what's first, because they
That's
all
true.
sound the same. And because there's no distinctive voice, I mean, maybe jazz, I don't know. I wouldn't notice
Hmm.
who sang, because, as I said, I've listened to them collaborate, and I don't know who's who. And then the
Hmm.
music's all sounds the same, and they sound almost singing this harmonized voice where you don't even know what they're talking about unless you're really into the song. And so, as I think, it's like they all sound the same. It's all quick. They've got a market. Don't get me wrong. They've got a market for them, but it's very much here today, gone tomorrow. And the labels seem fine with that, because they've still got their pot of money from the legacy stuff. They're still making themselves relevant with the newer stuff, probably encouraging them to sample, because they're still making
Right.
money from it, and they're still getting an audience, and they still have the viral moments on TikTok or IG, or YouTube, and so that it's a win-win for the labels. They don't necessarily need to invest too much money in R&B, because they already have their stuff. The good stuff's already been made. Very few people are doing a Bruno Mars. Very few people are going and doing that. So they don't have to spend that much money, because,
True.
yeah, because so I think the labels don't necessarily need to do that. They don't want to. They don't need to. They're not. They're not a moral organization that says, what, we're not putting quality music out. We need to focus on that. They're businesses. So,
Hmm.
as I said, it's up to us as the consumers to say, look, what are we doing? Do we support good music that comes out now? I mean, are artists really investing in making good music, or are they chasing the one-hit wonder stuff? So it's up to you guys to think and comment and let us know. Um, Saying that, I'm not sure if you heard the new track with Charlie Wilson, Babyface, Johnny Gill, and Casey. I have to remember everyone that's on the
Yeah, I
track.
heard it. I
Okay.
heard it. I
It,
sent it to my mother.
okay.
Um, I hate it, but it's just not my type of music. But I actually like the video, which the video sells me. Like, it's clearly there. I think they're going to be doing some kind of like cruise kind of, I don't know, some kind of cruise ship type performances or something in the future. Like, I don't know if it's a cruise type tour or whatever.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that it's a good idea from a business standpoint, marketing standpoint. It's just the sound for it, the song it alone by itself. I'm not feeling it, but I don't know.
It
It's yeah,
surprised me because you had Babyface, the greatest, one of the greatest songwriters in the history of music, on there. Um, he had the vocal talents of Johnny Gill and Casey along with Charlie, and it was sampling the White McFadden and Whitehead, Ain't No Stopping Us Now, um, but it, and it was trying to be sort of an upbeat stuff. But I just wondered, it was like, okay, um,
yeah. I mean, I can see how people like it.
it's
Formula
doing well on
wise, it
YouTube.
should work.
It's
Yeah,
doing
it's
well on
doing well. I
YouTube.
mean,
Yeah.
for me, just for me personally, I mean, I can see where from a marketing standpoint and everything, it will work and how they can push it and how it will work because it's got all these ingredients. It's got who is it? Four or five guys? I can't
Has
remember.
four. Yeah.
Four of them, four of our biggest like R&B legends
Mm.
on one track.
Yeah.
It's sampling a already established hit.
Yeah.
It's a fun, party record. I'm just saying from my standpoint, for me, it lacks. I just don't like it. I don't like it because for different reasons. I don't like the way it's produced. I don't
Mm.
like how it sounds generic.
Mm.
I feel like it doesn't have the funkiness that I would want from it. If you're going to redo ain't no stopping us now, bring a little bit of that disco or that funk to it. It feels very generic and safe, and it doesn't really. For these artists, these talents, I want to hear something new. I want to hear something next. I don't want to hear regurgitated, repackaged things that have already been proven. Because now you're doing what the new artists are doing, just writing an old hit to a hit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a calculated move, but it's just nothing that appeals to me.
So now,
You know,
yeah. So this goes back to the question about why old school music is outselling new school.
right?
Now, visually, it's doing well. I think on
Hmm.
Charlie Wilson's channel in 24 hours, it had almost a quarter of a million views. So it just
Right, that's good
shows
for him.
that
Mhm.
it just shows that it's, and people people like Steve Harvey and stuff are tweet retweeting it, so it's getting the exposure
Yeah,
and stuff. But
and I think he's on an independent label now. I mean, he's still on with the same people, but they're
but he's on
indie
the
now.
same label with Johnny Gill and Casey.
Mhm.
They're on the
They're
same
just not
label.
distributed by I think, excuse me, Sony. I don't think they're distributed by Sony anymore. I think that they're just
Yeah,
solely on
they're
that
just a
label.
solely, yeah, and I think they're in a position where the way the industry is now, if you're just going digital and you're relying on YouTube and stuff, you don't necessarily
Yeah,
need to be a label because at the end of the day, he's got the exposure, and I don't know what a
right,
label would really do any more than what he's
right.
doing now.
But my whole thing is like, why share a publishing check with whoever owns the McFadden and Whitehead song? Like, why can't you got Babyface there?
Yeah, yeah, I
Charlie
didn't. Yeah,
Wilson is a writer and producer. Like, he written Mercedes Boys for Pebbles back in the day. Like, he's a capable
wow,
producer.
wow.
I don't understand why they can't come up with something fresh. That's also a party record. But
Yeah.
anyway, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that the old music is killing the new music, and you find yourself just listening to old music all day long? You don't even touch that dial. You just listen to what's out. I mean, what you like. Or do you think no? I don't think so. I think you see more or hear more new music than you do the old music when you're flipping through the stations and where you're listening to casually listen to music. Let us know your thoughts and catch us next time on the fastest rising R&B podcast. Can we talk R&B podcast?
All right, take care.